Welcome and thanks for joining me right here on the channel. The solution is you. I hope that you are doing well, and I do appreciate you for taking time just to visit with me here on the channel. If you enjoy the content, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe to my channel. With that, let me go ahead and get into today's subject. Now, the topic of today is the lenient approach. Now, I remember back in the day, I was raised by my great aunt. I called her Big Mama. And Big Mama didn't play any games. Big Mama was strict. She always looked out for me. And she always did whatever it took to make ends meet. And I remember being in the third grade, I would always walk to school. The elementary school was about just 7 minutes in walking distance. And I remember one day I was on my way to school, so I'm walking to school, and I'm about 2 minutes into my walk, and I noticed that there was a dog on the porch, and the dog was barking at me as I approached the house to walk on the sidewalk going to the school. And I just froze in place because, you can imagine as a kid, you walk up to a dog and the dog is barking. So you thinking the dog is going to start running at you, and who knows, the dog just may bite you. And that's the last thing that you want. So as a kid, I was scared. So I was nervous and I froze in place and I would not move for anything. That dog seemed like he wanted to just jump off the porch and start running, and I wasn't going anywhere. And I stood there for about a good 10 minutes, not going anywhere. So everything was basically at an impasse. And I noticed when I looked behind me, Big Mama was standing there in the distance, just off the steps outside of the home that we stayed in. And she was hollering something down the street. And I believe what she was saying was, "You better get your butt on to school." And I would not move because every little step that I would take, the dog would bark more and more. And so I was still frozen in place. So at this time, I would look between the dog and then back at my Big Mama, and I would look at the dog and then back at Big Mama. And I noticed that she was no longer outside. So I guess she had went in the house, but I wasn't moving. And so a couple more minutes had went by, and I saw Big Mama was heading my way. And she had something in her hand that was swinging back and forth. Now, I'm looking back at the dog, and the dog acts like it wants to jump off the porch, and it's still barking at this time. And I know that I'm supposed to be at school, so I'm looking back at Big Mama, and I'm looking at the dog, and I look back at Big Mama. She getting closer and closer. So this is just like an episode of Friday the 13th where you have Jason closing in on you. But the only thing in this case was it wasn't an axe swinging back and forth. It was a leather belt. Listen, when I saw that leather belt and Big Mama walking fast, I broke out running to the school. So I was running quick as possible. The dog never jumped off that porch. And so when I got to the school, in front of the school, I looked back, Big Mama was still coming. So I went on ahead, went inside of the school. I went to the breakfast line because that's what I would always do once I got to the school. So at this time, I'm in full panic mode. I already know I'm running late. Big Mama was on her way with the belt. I almost got bit by a dog. And now I had to run full speed to school. So I'm inside of the school in the breakfast line. I got all my friends in the line. And I'm constantly looking over my shoulder between how quickly the line is moving forward and whether Big Mama has spotted me in the breakfast line. So a few more minutes has went by. I seem to be safe. The line has moved forward, and I'm about to get me a tray. I got my silverware, and I'm trying to decide on if I want pancakes or biscuits and sausages. So as soon as I started to give instructions on how I want my plate set up, all of a sudden I hear a voice that say, "Get your butt out of this line." And she had a belt right in her hand. And everybody's looking, my friends are looking, and I get nervous. So all of a sudden she yanked me by my arm. She takes me to the principal's office, and she tells the principal that I was trying to skip school. And at that time, you could give spankings in the school. So she spanked me right there in front of the principal. Now, during this time period, there was definitely zero tolerance for leniency. My great aunt was a hard-working woman. She did whatever it took to take care of the bills, to handle any issues that came up, to make sure that I was taken care of. And she did all of this while caring for a sick husband, and is very commendable. And so, as it relates to today's message, the lenient approach, a lot of today's issues are tied to too much leniency, and not necessarily freedoms, but leniency. And a lot of this leniency is tied to households, the way that we are raising the people that we care about and that we are responsible for. The way we raise them has a lot to do with too much leniency. And, there's a lot of things that are tangled inside of this big ball of too much leniency. As you know, like if you ever dealt with a rubber band ball or a big ball of yarn that's tangled together, and you may try to attempt to untangle it, but sometimes it's so tangled that after a while, if you haven't become successful in untangling everything, you decide to what? You decide to leave it alone. And that's just like today's world. There are so many issues that have originated from different origins that with today everything moving so fast and everyone doing their own thing, that fewer and fewer people are less worried about solutions. Or there are fewer and fewer people who believe that they can make an impact. Because if you don't see an immediate solution or immediate success, then that must mean that there's no success being made. And that's so far from the truth, because the way you tackle giant projects is you have to break them into small bits. And sometimes these small bits are handled over time and not necessarily all at one setting. And so whenever you're handling a project, you can't do it all by yourself. Sometimes you have to have a team, or you have to have a large group of people with individual tasks specializing in whatever it is that they are responsible for, and they are being accountable. Handling things consistently, that means seeing things through day to day. And these are individuals who, first of all, believe in themselves. And when you believe in yourself and you're proud of who you are and the skills and things that you possess, you will take that belief into anything that you do. So when you're helping folks and you are providing assistance, that you're going to put the maximum effort into it because that's something that you would do for yourself. Now, people in general want to do the right thing. So there's this belief among too many people that there are individuals who, if they wanted to do the right thing, they could at any given time. But people naturally want to do the right thing. People have good spirits. But we have to be honest. There's a lot of people out here who don't want to see anything resolved because it doesn't work to their best interests, and that's just the truth. With individualism being a huge thing, that means people are worried about themselves and themselves only and could care less about anyone else, especially if they are considered low income or less than thou. It isn't a matter of not knowing what's affecting their situation, it's more of not caring. And so when someone is not caring, it doesn't do any good to question or ask anything of why. The best solution moving forward is to believe in yourself, understand who you are and what you represent. That means your family, the people who care about you being the best person there is, being a competitor, linking up with people who have like minds, being ambitious, not caring what other people think unless it's someone who is providing you with constructive criticism. Value yourself and value your family. Just because there are hardships in life, that should not equal to being too lenient on those who have to come behind us into the world that we're in today. Being too lenient never works. If you look at a lot of what we are experiencing, there are a lot of young people who do not value going into the workforce as early as possible. I remember getting a job at the time, which is different than today as far as the age, but getting a job at 14. And when I was 14, I started working at an art gallery and I worked there as a summer job. Then the next summer, I was working at a gas station. So I was in there doing cash register, mopping the floors, stocking up the inventory, changing the signs out on the gas pumps and things like that. And so I worked at each of these different jobs 2 times. So I worked a total of about 4 years. And, I worked at these places for 2 summers apiece. And so again, I started out at the age of 14. I've been working ever since. And so, what this does is keep you productive, keeps you busy, keeps your mind thinking, keeps you out of trouble, keeps you involved. You're constantly learning how to interact with others. You're also learning through nonverbal communication. So just by observing. So you're able to observe different people, how they act, how they react to certain issues, um, their movements, um, and you adjust to their pace depending on the situation. So there's a lot to learn when you are dealing with people. There's a lot to learn when you're on the workforce, and just because you're working a 9 to 5 doesn't necessarily mean that that's all you have to do. So you use your 9 to 5 to get into other things in life. So like I said, money is a tool and you use it to get to where you ultimately want to be. So there's nowhere that you have to stay permanently, but you have to start somewhere. And it starts with the fundamentals that you learn at home. And so when you're working a job, it's not necessarily about the job itself. It's about going out and practicing what you've learned at home over time. And so you're going out and you're practicing being punctual. That means showing up to work on time, doing a great job while you're there, having a great attitude, learning all that you can while you're there, and knowing how to get ahead. And so all these things tie into going out and representing who you are and representing those, therefore, who set the foundation for you. And so when you're going out, you're looking for other individuals who are just like you so that you can spread these good characteristics. And so when you're linking up with someone who looks like you or acts like you, then you are able to get more done. And when you're able to get more done, things become easier. Okay. And so therefore you can go out, you can make a great impact. Now, if you decide to link up and start a business, you can see what a tremendous impact that can make. Turning folks down has never done anything. A lot of the solutions are right in front of us each day. A lot of us, we go each day and we act like there's no solutions in sight. We've tried everything, therefore we just do whatever we want to do whenever we want to do it because there's no solution. So just everyone do whatever they want to do when they want to do it. And that's not working. History repeats itself. So there's nothing that we are going through today that has not been seen before or practiced before or resolved before. So it's just a matter of us individually understanding who we are, representing who we are, taking pride in all that we do, striving for excellence in all that we do, not looking for anything that's quick, not always about the dollar, and not wanting anyone to be too lenient with us. I thank you for listening to me today. Please understand that the solution is you. With that, have a great day.